Okay, let's go then. So we're going to start, of course, by setting our standing posture. So if we take our feet to roughly hip width apart, spread out the toes, make a nice connection down to the floor through our feet. And we want to feel that nice sense of being grounded. So feeling not just the toes, but the balls of the feet and the heels as well. Maybe just feeling into that weight so we're equally weighted both sides. And then we have that sense of lifting and lengthening without going into a stiff position. Relax the shoulders and soften the knees. Bringing the hands onto the belly as we start to notice our breathing. So we've just got that nice, easy, natural, gentle rise and fall of normal everyday breath, and we'll stay with that for now. So letting those arms relax down, gently dropping chin towards chest, and then lifting up and lengthening away. So as we work, of course, for the first couple of minutes, it's just about taking that little bit of time, connecting to the body, have that sense of feeling into the breath, having a little check-in, see how everything's feeling today. And we're just going to go one more on these down and ups. Then we're drawing back so the head is lining up over the shoulders and we're in that more center position. So then we're just looking over from one side to the other. So again, just keeping knees slightly soft and that sense of tallness through the spine. And of course that slightly drawn back head position, just to keep the head very much over the spine for this one. So last one here to either side. And then we're going the other way, so we're taking the ear up and just anchoring the shoulder into position by pushing that arm out in a slight diagonal, downwards lengthened position. So a couple more of those. And then those three movements work together now as we relax the arms and very gently come through there. Have a look over, come back down around. Have a look over, and we'll just do one more of those each way. That will give us a nice little loosening. We're coming back to the middle. We're drawing up. We're nice and tall again. We're squeezing back. We're hunching up. We're curling forwards, and we're sliding down. So although it's quite a big movement of the shoulders, everything else stays quite still as we isolate that movement through there. So let's just go one more forward. And then take it back the other way. So it's stretch, squeeze and squeeze at the back. So it's that exaggeration of the four positions that gives us this nice massage-y type effect and very warming into the body. One last one, shoulders down, relaxing into the back. Hands onto the hips then, let's roll back and forward a couple of times. As we scoop up, we get that nice strong abdominal connection. Naturally those abdominals turn on, stretching out the low back, working into the tummy, reminding our brain about the position of our pelvis, and then settling into the middle, tailbone down, hips level. Let's rise it up then. So we're coming up onto the toes, floating up and floating down into our flex foot position. Float it up, float it down and flex. And we're just picking that slightly forward and down, eye focused position to keep the eye gaze steady. Adding in the arms then as we lift, the arms come out. As we lower, they come together. And as we flex, they come down. So we just get this nice pattern again then, flowing through the body. We'll take just two more times through there. So this is going to be the last one now. Up and around. Very nice balance, everyone. Good job. Finishing with flexing and then reaching up this time into a breath swing. As we come out of it this time, we're going to open, just coming into a little side bend, back up to the top, through our little breath swing, and then up and into the other side first. Side bend, back up to the top, swing it through, reach and extend. So just in that nice little bit of extra spine movement, up to the top, swing through. So let's go. Other side again first. And we're just going to repeat that sequence two more times. So right to left and then left to right to finish off with. So it's just really working the whole body now. Any bits we haven't mobilised yet, getting mobilised with this. So this will be our final one. And we're going to come through with one final swing and then reach it up and just let those arms come around. Just staying here into a nice gentle spine twist. So we're coming through there with a fairly stable pelvis, focusing on our movement coming through the centre of the body. So breathing out, breathing in and breathing out. We'll just take another couple of those. Just watch out for a bit of tension coming in the shoulders here. Just relax them down. Make sure that's not happening. Make sure the knees are slightly bent so that if your hips do twist a bit, and they probably will, it's just that we're not doing it on stiff, rigid legs and putting pressure on the knees. So last one is here, and then we come back to the centre. We let those arms be much more relaxed now as we step the feet out, and we come into our full body twist. So much softer, not having to control that position with this twist, allowing the legs to move with us as we turn. So yeah, just really nice and soft and fluid. We're going to take a couple more of those. Easy breathing, soft relaxed muscles, and then back to the middle and relax it there. Give the shoulders a little roll out, give the arms and the legs a little shake as well. Very nice. Right, we're coming straight down to the floor, so come on down and come and find your best position on the mat. So let's just adjust our devices if we need to. Get my cursor out of the screen. And we're going to think about, I'm just angling my other camera as well so I can get that in. Once we get down here, we're going to think about coming into our nice normal resting position on the back. So you're going to have your knees bent, your feet on the floor, maybe head support if you're normally having head support. Oh, my other camera is not in the best position, so I'm just trying to work around that. Let me get that reset. Oh, that's better. Okie doke. So we're down into our normal resting position. Like I say, head support if you need it, and of course when we come down here, the first thing we do is always connect back into our breathing for a moment. So you're probably already there, just observing that nice, easy, natural breath, which is your normal breath. And then, of course, for our Pilates work, we go into that slightly deeper, more connected breathing. So as we inhale, we definitely feel a little bit more expansion through the ribs and through the belly. And then as we breathe out, we encourage the breath away, so we get that stronger feeling and that natural feeling of the abdominals drawing in or bracing type of feeling. And that's of course where we go with our work. So from here we're going to float up one leg and the opposite arm, and we're going into a nice long stretch. There is a two-leg version of this as well if you want it. So we're going to breathe out, stretch the arm and leg away and find that length through the body. Holding that position to take a little diagonal slide, so the arm and leg travel the opposite way to each other, of course. Inhale back to centre and draw the arm and leg back up to the top. And then we'll stay on this side if we're staying with single leg work. Maybe for about 10 or 15 reps there. If you're doing two leg work, of course, we're going to be in our double tabletop position. And we're stretching away. So I've got that same feeling of lengthening, controlling the pelvis, keeping the ribs connected. Again, I'm going out into that little diagonal slide, back to centre line and up to the top. And then the only difference is that you'll be alternating. If you're doing the two-leg version, you just keep going from one side to the other. So that is up to you. So like I say, we're going to think about possibly in the region of about 10 or 15 on one side and then on the other. If you're doing two-leg work, probably about the same. We don't necessarily have to keep count. It's not as important to keep count on the two-leg version, of course. You can probably just work through till it feels about right. So we're thinking lots of different things here. All of our elements that are important for Pilates are all in one exercise with this one. So you've got the lengthening and stretching aspect, trying to create that feeling of length through the body. but at the same time you've got that stability, stable pelvis, keeping the ribs connected. We're thinking, and of course when we go into the diagonal position, much harder to maintain the stability in that position. Then you've got the breath bringing it all together. So you've got that nice flowing movement, the connection of the breath and the stability of the body. So all of those elements working nicely together. Once you finish, of course, you'll be coming down into your resting position where you're going to have your little bit of time to just stretch or release wherever you want to go. And of course you can just completely rest as well and do a little bit of breath focus work if that's where you prefer to be for a moment. Once we're all done, of course, we will all move on together in a moment. Very, very nice. Good job everyone, well done. Very, very nice. All right, so we're staying here on our back. So we're going to have knees bent, feet on the floor again, back into just normal setup position for now. So I'm thinking now about challenging in a different way. So still challenging into the center, but with a completely different focus. And it's a moving challenge now as we're going to work through a twist. So my arms come away to the side, palms resting down. They're going to give me a little bit of stability and keep me focused through the upper body. I'm going to work here either in a bent leg or a straight leg position. And straight leg, of course, will be more challenging because your leg will be heavier as you twist. So this knee is going to go away from you. So I'm turning away into as much of a twist as I feel comfortable supporting. And then I come back. If you need that to be slightly less intense, you could tuck the leg in. So see how I've got my leg bent there? Or you could, a good option is rest that foot on top of the other foot and do your twist there. So that makes it much gentler if you need to take some weight out of the leg. On the other hand, if you want to go stronger, you go into that straight leg twist. So we're dropping the weight of that leg away. How far can we control it? How far do we want to let it go? And then we draw the weight of that leg all the way back in, which is of course very strong through the centre. So you've got lots of options to play around. Like I say, rest your foot on top of the other foot, tuck your leg in, have a 90 degree or go straight. And then you can really hopefully allow your back to work at the right level of challenge. Now we've probably done about 10 to this side now. So we need to be thinking about changing legs. So of course we're just going to pop that one down, bring the other one again into your rested support or wherever you want to go. So I'm going to go rested support for my first one. There, so I'm just resting that top leg on the bottom leg. I can do my tucked in knee position, which again I can allow the knee to rest, or the foot to rest on the knee with that one. I can extend up into my 90-90 position. Or I can go fully extended up at the top, nice control with a big long leg. So lots and lots of options. And again, we want to do about 10 now going this way. So really again, it's bringing in all of those elements, using the breath. Find your own way of breathing with this one. It doesn't matter which way round it is, but we still always want that breath control working with us, whichever way it is. We're keeping the upper body stabilized with this one, and we're asking the center to now move with strength. So of course with the last one it was holding the center very still as everything moved away. Now the center is moving. So it's another way of strengthening into those deeper abdominals, the back, but at the same time with this one, of course, there is a lot of movement, so it's mobilizing the spine, and that's why we have to be careful with where our leg position goes, depending on what our back is happy doing. Now, when you have finished, of course, you're probably on your last couple or just about finishing now. So coming into your rest position, as always, wherever you want to be. You may like to stretch out, you may like to curl up, you may just want to be still for a moment. Okay, really nice everybody, well done. Okay, we are turning over onto our sides this time, so have a roll over, so you're facing me this way, and actually while you're on the way over, if you've got something that in a minute you can use to prop your leg, so like your cushion or something, then bring that with you now because it will save us moving around once we're in position. So as we're on our way over, we'll pick it up now, our cushion or a fitness ball or a yoga block or anything like that will do. And just keep that near to you for now, so I'm just going to pop mine out the way there. The first position we're coming into is ready for the clam. So you may like this slightly more propped up head position that I tend to use because it's easier for talking. But you can do it, or you may prefer to have the head resting more like normal side work, but it doesn't really matter, whatever's comfy. Our main focus here is going to be this strengthening and stabilising into the deep hip. So I'm lining up the knees, I'm floating the feet a little bit, but I don't want to overly lift them. And then I'm thinking, of course, breathing. So as we exhale, we lift the knee up to the side, breathing out there with that strong connection into the hip and the abdominals. Inhale to lightly connect the knees, but don't stop. And then breathe out to lift and breathe in to lower. Once you get going, you might want to rest head down. So head position up to you, as long as the neck is comfy, that is fine. What we are mainly thinking, of course, is this stable position of the hip. So if you're moving the hip, you would still feel it. It's not that it wouldn't work, it still would work, but it's just that we're trying to use the more stabilizing type work with this one. So holding still and steady, getting that deeper activation, pelvic floor working quite strongly, lower abdominals, back muscles, and of course all the stuff that you can feel, which is mainly around the hip, the bum and the outer leg. Normally with side work, I sort of say anywhere between about 10 and 20 really, because it's just feeling and giving everybody the chance to hopefully do their maximum or close to their maximum. So it's really just going to be feeling into it and seeing how that muscle goes. When you have finished, just resting here for a minute, because of course in a minute we'll be using our knee prop and doing the opposite work of this, which will of course be going from that outer hip and thigh into inner thigh. Very nice. So the prop is just to make it a bit more comfortable as we work that bottom leg. If you don't have one, it doesn't matter because it's fine just to have your knee resting on the floor. It still works. It's just, yeah, personal preference, maybe more comfortable. So it's the option that we have. Again, head position up to you. Bit stronger this time, so the foot is flexing up towards the front of the shin, so not just the toes, pull the whole foot up. And then again, it is a simple movement, like the clam, it is just lift and lower, but it's this very, very strong one here. So as we breathe out to lift, we again get that really strong abdominal connection, really strong inner thigh, pelvic floor, deeper abdominal, low back, waist even, all of this whole midsection is working, even though I know it feels like a very simple movement. And of course, it's that connection of breath. So we're really balancing ourselves, of course, by trying to get outer and inner thigh work. We want that slightly stronger activation here. These muscles don't tend to be as strong as the rest of the leg. So we're trying to make a more strong connection. And yeah, so we're working really evenly all the way through the body really. Again, 10 up to 20, somewhere in that range is probably going to be your maximum. I don't know, I think I've done about 10, but I'm going to let you guys carry on a bit longer. And of course, if you have finished with me or if you're still going, When you are done, then we take our stretch. So we've been flexed, we go to pointed, we reach and we lengthen for maybe 3 or 4 slightly deeper breaths, encouraging that breath a little bit more than normal, filling up ribs, belly, expanding, and yeah, just enjoying that feeling of really, really lengthening your body out. I think we're pretty much all at that stretch position. So once we've done a few breaths of stretching, then we can just relax again for a moment. We will be coming to seated position next. So you can press yourself up, come to seating. If you like to have a little bit of extra height to help your floor sitting position, then that is fine. You can pop onto a cushion. Okay, so we're gonna go for a straddle position if we can for this one, but there are leg options, so don't worry, if straddle is really not for you, it doesn't matter. Now we can do, I'm doing only just a bit wider than hip width straddle there, but if you quite like to be encouraging lots of stretching through the hip area particularly, you know, feel free to do a much bigger straddle. On the other hand, bend your knees in, or even change your legs if you need to. Okay, so this is the saw. It's one of the original oldie styly traditional Pilates exercises. So we're going to go arms out wide, not too high again, watch out for those shoulders, keep them long. First of all, we think of just twisting, so like a normal spine twist, turn, turn, turn as far as you can, come back, and then turn as far as you can. Now the difference with the saw is there is then also this extension forward. So what I don't want to do is just go there. So think of turning first, then as you're turning, shoulder here towards foot, and then up. So you've got to get that combination of both things, turn and reach, there. So I'm going to just narrow my legs a bit so everything's feeling a bit tight. Try and stay fairly relaxed in your legs. What was happening to me then, I was getting a bit grippy and tight, I could feel my legs getting really rigid, and that doesn't help the movement, so try and soften if you notice that happening. So we're breathing out, we're breathing in, we're breathing out. You'll see that my hand is coming to the outside of this foot, so I reach across, but actually more than the hand, think shoulder, and that gives a better action usually on the twist. Send that other arm out behind, thumb up. Let me just turn sideways so you can see that a bit better. As I'm coming here, this thumb here is pointing up and reaching away, so there's actually quite a good shoulder activation at that point there. So then it's up. If for any reason your back is not happy with the reaching, stay with the twist. It's still a good twist on its own, even without the forward extension. So feel free to take that option. Okay, let's just have a little bit of a better look at them now without me moving. Yeah, lovely. So using that breath, just watch those shoulders creeping up. They do tend to after a few reps, and we're nearly done anyway, so maybe just a couple more, I think. Okay, they're looking good. Oh dear. Oh, the wide straddle is not good today for me. But well done, that was really nice. So roll out the shoulders, of course, we always want to give those a little wiggle, and maybe even shake out the legs if they're feeling it a bit from sitting on the floor. We're coming over, of course, we've got the clam in the lower leg to repeat, so bring your prop with you, ready for in a minute, and come on down. Support your head, whichever position is best, line your knees up, float your feet, and focus on your breathing. So as we exhale, we're floating up. As we inhale, we're lightly connecting but not stopping. Breathe out to lift. Breathe in to lower, and yeah, keep pelvis stable. You don't necessarily have to match what you did on the other side. It's more about just working the muscles individually to their maximum if possible within that kind of 10 to 20 repetition range. So feeling that deep hip work into the outer thigh, so it's building that strength, but at the same time, there's a lot of that corresponding deeper center work that we don't necessarily feel. They don't feel that fatigue in the same way as these more outer muscles do. When you're done, just rest and relax, because of course when we're all done, I'll get you all moving together into the next one. Okay, wonderful. So it's the top leg then, dropping onto your little support here in front of you and sending that other leg out away. So flex the foot, push through the heel, and then again start your lifts. Connect the breath. Breathe out to lift. Feel that strong abdominal pelvic floor connection. Breathe in to lower. We're keeping a fairly strong leg, so we've got that foot flexed up towards the shin. Doesn't necessarily need to be like rigidly there, but it is definitely pulling up rather than pointing away. So that makes a slightly stronger leg. Remember, we've got that little bit of pause with this one, so we do try that slightly more encouraged raise at the top of the movement, just to give us that bit of extra firing up. It's more about the nervous system at that point, the connection to the muscles, getting that stronger connection to happen. And again, it's just feeling through that range you've got of somewhere between about 10 and 20, but really just feeling your own way into it and doing as many as you can. As before, I don't think I've done 10 this time, but I think it's taken me about the same amount of time as I did on 10 on the other side. So we're going to stretch away. If you're still going, of course, don't panic, we're not finished, just keep going. Take the arm over when you are ready, point the toes and go into that stretch. And of course, that is just about really feeling full body length, having a bit of time to encourage the breath more. And yeah, just maybe 3 or 4, it doesn't need to be too many, but just rest and relax once you've had a nice little stretch out there. Good job. Okay, we're going to roll over onto our tummies now. So come on over and have a little rest here. Just coming into a nice comfortable front lying position, so just probably feet slightly apart. We give the hips a little shake out as we come down, and then resting the hands towards the edge of the mat. And we don't want to be completely slumped here, so we will be slightly raised, so we've got a bit of breathing space, we're not feeling like squashed in, but the head of course is always looking generally slightly down whenever we're doing front lying work. So that's my start position, and although I'm slightly raised, I'm quite relaxed through the shoulders, so they're able to move around at the moment. I'm thinking about breath, of course, so inhale, and if possible it's more of a rib breath when we're face down. Exhaling, of course, away to the end of the breath. So we're going swan dive today. So we start by thinking shoulders back, and we've got this slight upper chest extension we've already got. We're going a little bit beyond that, and then we release back into that more rested position. Relax the shoulders, allow them to fall, and then draw them back and down. Lift through the upper chest, and then again release. And that's like phase 1 of the swan dive, and that may be where you stay for your work, and that's totally fine if it is. All you would need to do with that one is just think of the head lengthening. So imagine the head being pulled away from you as you lift up and down. Your chin doesn't jut forward, your head stays in position, but you think of yourself like a tortoise poking your head out of your shoulders, which are your shell. You can, of course, extend further with swan dive. I know some of you will be. So you would keep going through that phase 1 up to phase 2, which is probably up onto the elbows here. So that's quite a good, or quite a big, I should say, extension of the back. We're starting to feel more work there in the bum and the legs and the low back. And then phase 3 would be where you're pushing with the hands and coming into the top position of swan dive. But of course you don't have to go to the top position to feel the benefit of this movement. That's what's nice about it. Although swan dive originally was a very, very challenging, rocking, quite fast exercise, but to feel the benefits of that lengthening of the spine, that working through the back, you don't have to extend far. So if your back isn't happy with that, then that's okay. Stay in phase 1 and think of the extension, the length. We want to feel with swan dive, yes, we've worked the shoulder muscles, the upper back muscles, and to a certain extent the mid, low back and the bum and the legs. But we also want to feel almost like we've grown taller, so it's that feeling of lengthening that's really, really key. So yeah, it's sometimes a bit of a tricky one. If you've not done it ever in a live in-person class, it can be tricky because it's one of the ones I always used to normally get hands-on with and kind of coach people much more touchy-feely. But yeah, they're all looking good, so I think you all know what I mean when I'm talking about that feeling of length and growing taller. So I'm going to just take maybe a few more. If you have finished, or when you do, of course, we're going to be just coming into a nice resting position here. So that could be supporting the head on the hands. You might want to stretch your arms out. You may prefer to bring them around. It really doesn't matter where you go, but just have a little rest once you've done your last one here. Take a couple of nice easy breaths. Let everything release and relax for a moment. Okay, we are good. We'll just give the hips a little shake out here then. So just give the hips a little wiggle side to side. So just tucking the toes under to give the feet a bit of height. And we can have a nice little relaxed back and hip shake through there. That will probably go down into the legs as well. And then we're going to bring the hands by the shoulders and pop ourselves up. So we're coming into our all fours position. We're rolling in, so I'm curling in the head and the shoulders and pulling the nose to the tailbone and the tailbone to the nose. I'm sending the ribs up to the sky, and I'm making sure that I keep breathing all the way through that position. As we come down the other way, we're lengthening, and we may travel through that then a couple of times. It's totally up to you. Be free and fluid with this one. Once you've done a few of those, into your side hip stretch. So we look over the shoulder, have a look at the hip, bring the hip and the shoulder towards one another. Again, just keeping that breathing nice and relaxed. Same thing over to the other side, have a look. Feel that lengthening here, it's opening the space here, the side of the body and the back as well to a certain extent. Once we've done a couple of those, it all starts to move more freely up and down, side to side, combinations of all those different positions. You find your way through this one and go to where you feel that you need that release. Okay, once we've done a good amount of that, stretching back. So it may be low hips, child's pose there, stretching those shoulders. You may prefer a bit of a higher hip position, but either way it's those shoulders getting a bit of release. Let's take a couple of breaths here. Okay, from here we're going to come either into an elbow supported position or possibly back up to the hands if you're comfortable there. If you're doing it on the hands, I would soften your elbows a little bit so they're not getting lots of tension. And if you don't like being on the hands, it's totally fine. Let's be on the elbow, forearms. If you need a bit of knee padding, pad your knees by all means. We want to be comfy. So I'm going to extend one leg out behind me, whichever position I'm in. I've got one leg extending straight away behind. Take a breath in. As we exhale, squeeze from the bum, lift the leg as high as you can without twisting your pelvis or losing your position. Keep the hips level. Inhale, tap the toe very lightly. Exhale and squeeze. So it is simply a matter of your bum strength picking up your leg behind you. Quite a simple movement, but not easy. If you're doing it on the hands, it's the same. It probably doesn't look like it goes quite as far because you lose a slight amount of space with the hands. It's a little bit more challenging. Probably about 10 and then change legs. If you did need to be off your knees completely, of course you can be doing this on your tummy. It's very similar to a lot of the sort of frontline work we normally do. It's just activating the bottom muscles from a different position this week. But yeah, you've always got front lying as an option whenever we do raised work, if you need it. So just quickly to recap, if you're on your hands, just soften your elbows a bit so they're not getting locked and putting a lot of tension in the joint. You want the arm muscles and shoulder muscles to be working really actively. They might even get tired and that's okay. Core strength, of course, definitely working here, both positions. Yeah, basically the same thing. Getting those bum muscles fired up, using the breath, challenging the tummy, the back, all of that good stuff is happening here. As soon as you've finished, you can drop back into your normal rest position that you would use, that we were just in. So that could be high hips or it could be child's pose. Once we've all done that, we'll be changing position, of course. Okay, I think we're nearly done. So once you've had that little bit of stretching time, if the wrists were feeling it a little bit, you might need to give the wrists a little wriggle about while you're transitioning back over. We're going to be heading back over onto our backs next for our sort of finishing off section. So maybe grabbing a drink on the way over, so maybe giving the wrists a little roll out if they need that bit of loosening, and then just bring yourself back over into your nice rest position, support the head if you need it, and just start to resettle into that natural position. Reconnecting to breath, of course, we always have when we get back here. So I'm thinking normal natural breath, then I'm thinking deeper, more connected Pilates breathing. Okay, good. We're going to get the arms moving now because we've had quite a lot of challenging upper body work with that supported work and with the swan dive. So they're going to get a nice big stretch out now. So I'm thinking arm circling. I'm going into single or double tabletop here. And I'm thinking arms up. I want the palms to face together. So earlier on we were stretching palms forward. We've got the palms in here. Both arms go together. I'm gluing my ribs and I'm stretching away. I'm going to have some optional additions in a second, but our basic arm circles is stretch. Make the circle as big as you can and come up through there. And that's the same if you're in single or double. We're going to add an optional curl. So stretch through there, and then as your arms come, you're curling up into that reach and then down. Circle, curl, there. If you don't fancy the curling option, but you want to add a different challenge, you could add a leg stretch. So as the arms go back, the leg goes away, and then everything comes back together. And that's a good way of adding challenge to the deep abdominals without having to lift the upper body. So if you know you have a niggly neck or shoulders that don't like curling work, that's a good way. And of course you can do that in two leg. I've only shown it in single leg, but you would just alternate your legs, of course, in the two leg version. Wherever you go, and remember you don't have to add the legs or the curl, you can stay with your static legs, which is how we've previously done arm circles. Whether you add the additional stuff or not, we're just really trying to make big circles now, stretching into those shoulders, opening everything up. really nicely. And again, it's anywhere between about 10 and 20. You will then be going back the other way, of course, with arm circling. So we return them round in that forward circling pattern. And all the way through this, we've just got that general awareness of controlling pelvis, controlling ribs, breath, bringing it all together. And then, like I say, the main thing is those really nice big arm circles. We are looking good. Very, very nice. Now, of course, we're all doing different options. We're all doing different amounts with this one. So when you are done, you're coming down to rest. But I will give you plenty of time. So if you're doing lots of reps, don't worry, you will have time to get them done. So of course, when you do come to your stretch, you might be stretching, using that time for your own stretches that you like to do, or it may again just be purely resting, nice and easy. Okay, super duper. We are done. Right, from here then, same sort of thing, but for the lower body now is going to be a little bit of a release as we come into our stretching to finish off with. So it's feet apart, and it's just coming into a very gentle, easy hip rocking movement now. So much, much softer than those big challenging twists we had at the beginning. So it can be very soft, just a nice little rock from side to side. You can encourage this more if you want to go into a bigger twist. You can even use the hand on that leg to pull over on the inside thigh, but it's up to you. So it's just being very soft, gentle with your body as we want to ease ourselves out of our challenging work now and into a few stretches to finish off with. So nice, soft, easy breathing, nice, soft, easy hips, encouraging it as much or as little as you like. Just going to take a last couple of those. All right, once you've done those last couple, we're going to return to centre and bring the knees in. We don't want to gather them too tightly, so just pick them up and just hold on to the top there. Shuffle your hips along a little bit, so you're trying to create space here, lengthen the low back, and it's in that lengthened position that we then go into the circling. So just rolling through really nicely that low back area. Okay, let's take it the other way. Just stay with your breath, be soft and easy with the breathing. Okay, so in contrast to that now, we're going to go long, placing those feet down. We lengthen out, we want to feel particularly the hip stretching here. Arms overhead, and the breathing gets a bit deeper here now as well to help with that feeling of length. So we inhale, filling up, we exhale, breathing away. And we do maybe 3 or 4 breaths there. We do the same thing, flexing feet. Feel the length down the calf muscles. Again, breathe a bit more deeply. Okay, relax the legs, just give the wrists a little roll, a couple of rolls one way and a couple of rolls the other. Then we're going to circle the arms back round to by our side. Bending the knees, bring the feet in towards the hips and roll yourself over, pressing yourself up into a nice comfortable seated position again. So we'll just come and sit nice and relaxed here. Legs, whichever position you prefer. Let's get those shoulders opening, pushing forward, looking down, and breathing into that space you're creating at the top of your back. Okay, release that. Bring the hands, sit a bit taller this time as we lift through the chest, draw the elbows back, and again, breathe into it. Okay, release the arms, one hand down, other hand coming over into a nice side bend, keeping your bottom stuck on the floor. Okay, let's take that to the other side. Just a couple of breaths there. And then nice and slowly ease it back in. Give the shoulders one last little regular roll. And we are done. Yay! Thank you so much. Great work, everybody. Well done.